you swear affirm the testimony about to give be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you so much. Please get comfortable, adjust the microphone. Thank you. For the record, please state your full legal name.
Cameron Durham.
Thank you.
Sergeant Durham, how long have you been in law enforcement?
I've been with the sheriff's office, so it'll be 35 years in June,
Where did you start out in law enforcement?
with Hall County.
What were you doing when you first started out in law enforcement?
I started out working in the detention center as a jailer. Worked about 18 months in the detention center, then went to patrol, worked on patrol for about 3 years, and then into CID or criminal investigations.
So how many years have you been doing criminal investigations and crime scenes?
When I was on patrol, I was doing shift crime scene. I was a shift crime scene tech, so I started doing crime scenes on patrol in around 93.
And at what point did you become a crime scene investigator and that was all you did?
I took over full-time crime scene in 2001, I believe.
How many hours of training do you have?
A little bit over 3,400 hours.
How many of that is specifically related to crime scenes?
I'd estimate between 14 and 15, maybe 1,600 hours.
How many crime scene investigations have you participated in?
Over the years, there's been probably a couple thousand.
How many death investigations have you participated in, whether they are suicide or homicide?
Suicide and homicide, probably over 500. Accidental natural deaths, probably over 800.
Do many of those investigations involve firearms?
A good bit of them do, yes.
Do you have any certifications in your connection as work as a crime scene investigator?
I'm certified through POST, or the Georgia Peace Officer Standard in Training. I'm certified as a crime scene technician and as a latent print examiner.
Judge, the state tenders Sergeant Cameron Durham as an expert in crime scene investigation.
No objection to that tender.
Directing your
Hold on one
attention-
second.
Yep.
Thank you. So ordered. Members of the jury, just like any witness, it's your duty to determine credibility, whether you do or do not believe a witness. Experts, the purpose of an expert is to help the jury with things that you may not otherwise know. That being said, and no comment on this witness, an expert witness gives, you give any credibility or not credibility as you so choose. State.
Thank you, Judge. Directing your attention to the early morning hours of March 8th of 2025, did you investigate a crime scene involving a shooting at 4238 Bay Ridge Drive here in Hall County?
Yes, I did.
Did part of your duties as the crime scene investigator involve the taking of photos?
Yes.
Judge, I am going to hand Sergeant Durham what I've got marked States Exhibits 7 through 179.
I apologize. 7 through 179.
Yes, Judge.
And I trust that y'all reviewed these before trial,
Yes, correct. She just handed those to me.
like just now? Or
We've reviewed those previously, Judge.
Okay, so are we good with all those coming in, or do we need to go through every single picture?
We don't have an objection to 7 through 179. No further objections to any of those.
All right, so 7 through 179 are admitted without objection.
So I'm going to ask the witness to thumb through these and see if he recognizes these as a group.
That's fine.
Do those pictures accurately depict photos that were taken during the investigation of the crime scene in this case?
Yes, they do.
Judge State Tenders Exhibits 7 through 179.
No further objections, 7 through 179.
Thank you.
So as part of investigating the crime scene, in addition to taking the photos, what was the very first thing that you did when you started working on this case?
Well, the photographs were taken, and you also go in and observe the scene. In this case, when I arrived at the scene, we were still waiting for a search warrant, so I went to the hospital in this incident and took photos there at the hospital and then returned back.
What observations did you make at the hospital?
The victim was at the hospital. They had already pronounced when I started doing the photographs. I observed the injuries to the body and collected the clothing there at the hospital and personal effects that he had.
Okay. And where did you go after leaving the hospital?
I went back to the scene at the residence.
Okay. So in connection with the scene, we're going to start with Exhibit 7. At some point, we're going to skip around a little bit, though. Just let me know. Okay. So what is this a picture of?
It's a photograph of the residence. This is a couple of days after the original call, but you can see one of the vehicles is still there. The doors are down and secured, but it's just the outside of the residence.
And then State's Exhibit 8,
Photograph of the back of the house.
State's Exhibit 9.
Photograph as that evening or that morning when I arrived on scene. You've got the garage doors up, vehicles that are parked there, and you can see the front of the house.
State's Exhibit 10.
Another photograph showing the vehicles a little clearer. You can see the open garage doors and the residence again. You can see stairwell and damage to the upstairs window.
State's Exhibit 11, what are we looking at here?
Photograph of the foyer or the staircase and the window up on the second floor, where you can see the damage to the windows.
Okay, and I'm going to try to shine this light. It's not working on the screen. I know you're tall, so would you mind showing the jury what you're talking about as far as the windows? You can use a pointer, you can use your arm.
The entrance to the house, and then you have the window here where you can see the landing for the staircase, the second floor window, or the top floor window. You can see the two defects on the window. Right there.
All right, and then now we're looking at State's Exhibit 12. What is State's Exhibit 12 a picture of?
It's a close-up of the upstairs window. You can see the damage to the window. This is a through-and-through gunshot to the window frame or the window pane. This one, the interior glass is broken, but the exterior glass is still intact.
Did you find any projectiles associated with either of those two holes in the window?
No.
Now, State's Exhibit 13.
It's a photograph showing the entrance to the residence, going into the great room.
And State's Exhibit 14.
Inside of the residence, showing the items that were there on the floor, some boxes, looks like some furniture that was to be put together.
State's Exhibit 15, what are we looking at here?
It's the backside of this would be the windows facing the back of the residence and the lake The patio's out back, or the deck is out back.
And State's Exhibit 16.
This is standing in the living room, looking into the kitchen and dining area.
State's Exhibit 17.
Looking back on the far side, this is the area going back to the back master bedroom area.
And State's Exhibit 18.
The entrance into the master,
And State's Exhibit 19.
the master area, master bedroom area.
State's Exhibit 20.
Again, this is a different angle of the master bedroom. You see going into the master bath,
And State's Exhibit 21.
going into the bathroom, master bathroom.
And State's Exhibit 22.
Master bathroom area.
And State's Exhibit 23. Did you note anything of interest in the master bath?
It was a cloth, a washcloth type, there on the edge of the counter.
And State's Exhibit 24.
Going back to the bathroom, to the closet and bathroom areas.
State's Exhibit 25,
Closet in the master.
26.
Again, closet in the master.
Okay. And I am going to skip over this one for right now, and we're looking at State's Exhibit 28. What are we looking here at State's Exhibit 28?
You're looking at the steps going up to the landing and then up to the second floor of the residence, or the top floor of the residence.
And State's Exhibit 29.
Photograph of the landing, the stairs over here are going up to the top floor. Photograph of the stairs and the landing, you can see a few blood drops, some bloody footprints, light footprints.
Okay, and for the record, that was State's Exhibit 30, and then State's Exhibit 31. What are we seeing here?
You're looking, these are the footprints again, and just some blood drops on the staircase.
And State's Exhibit 32.
It's a close-up or a little bit better shot of the footprint, one of the footprints on the stairwell.
And State's Exhibit 33.
This is going up to the top. This is the walkway, the overlook into the master, or to the main level, and this is the guest bedroom doorway.
And State's Exhibit 34.
The hallway just outside of the master bedroom. You can see the shoes that are there. There's some, again, bloody footprints, a few blood drops. Over to the side, you can see one of the firearms, and you can see debris from the door inside the master bedroom, or the upstairs bedroom. You can see bloody towels and part of the floor in there.
Were those towels like that when you arrived?
Yes.
What do you want? I'm trying to go to just to 35. All right, and this is the State's 35 or 36?
No, go back one.
Okay.
There.
Okay, looking at more closely now at State's 35, what are we looking at here?
You're looking at a couple of shoes, debris from the door. Inside, you can see the bloody towel. Looks like part of the handle for the hammer. And up in the center, you can see the Glock that's still resting on one of the shoes.
And then State's Exhibit 36.
36, you're just looking into the doorway here. You can see the Beretta, hammer, again, the towel, blood smears and blood that's on the floor. Again, you've got a little bit of debris from the door.
And what is your understanding of where Mr. Barron's body was found by the first responding officers?
My understanding was it was right in this area here.
And that's State's Exhibit 37. And now I want to show you State's Exhibits 38.
Again, you're looking at different angles. You got the bloody towels. This is the bathroom for this bedroom. You've got blood in the floor, bloody footprints, blood drops, blood smears, and again, the Beretta and the hammer.
And State's Exhibit 39.
You've got a close-up of the Beretta, the way it's laying on the floor next to the hammer.
And State's Exhibit 40.
Different angle, it shows a little bit better the hammer there with the Beretta that's on the floor.
And as far as you know, had those items been moved prior to you taking the pictures? And State's Exhibit 41.
You got, again, the Beretta, the hammer. Over here was a satchel. You got bloody footprints, blood drops in the floor, blood going up into the bathroom area, bloody footprints again, blood on the walls there.
State's Exhibit 42.
That's moving back away from the other photograph. The door to the bathroom again is over here. And you're looking at the blood drops in this area, bloody footprints. This is the edge of the bed. You got some blood drops on the edge of the spread, a little bit up at the top.
Okay, and let's look at, okay, State's Exhibit 43. What are we looking at here in regards to the drops of blood?
You just got a smudge over here, a smear, heavy blood smear. You've got drops that are coming over here. You got the bloody footprints coming in front of the bed. These areas right here look like they had blood in them at one time, but you can see the smear transfer across them. You still got the outline of the blood drops, but a lot of the blood is moved or wiped away.
And backing up, I heard you say transfer. Can you explain to the jury what you mean by transfer?
What you're looking at, you see the outline right here, and you see how these blood drops are full. This is where it looks like something came across and transferred or wiped the blood away that had actually been in here. The heavier blood drops were disturbed by something.
And can you tell us anything about the drops of blood that are on the corner of the bedspread and then below that and then over to the left?
The blood drops that are coming down right in here look like they're passive. They're pretty heavy blood drops. They're larger, but they're passive. They're just dropping. There's no direction with them. And it's similar to this right here where you've got the edge of the bedspread where they're hitting and running down the edge of the bedspread, but they're just heavier blood drops.
And when you say the blood is dropping, what exactly do you mean by the blood is dropping?
When the blood is dropping, if you've got it dripping off of something or if it's dripping off of an arm, whatever, if you don't have any motion with it, if you're not throwing or casting with it to get direction to it, if it's just passively falling or dropping, the blood is just going to be dripping from the object or the extremity that it's dripping from. So what you're looking at, these are rounded, more of a 90-degree blood drop just falling straight down versus something that's been cast or has force to it that will cause it to go at an angle.
Okay, and so what is your opinion about these blood drops on the floor?
They're just dripping from something that's got a good bit of blood on it. Like I said, I mean, they're pretty heavy drops, and you can see they've been in here as well. So there's something that's got a heavier concentration of blood on it versus something that's just got a little bit of blood that's starting to drip or fall.
Okay. And then looking at State's Exhibit 44, What are we looking at here in this picture?
Back from the corner, a little bit over here by the edge of the bed, you can see a holster that's right here. You can see the blood drops right here on the edge of the bedspread, the blood drops that were on the floor, the bloody footprints. You got the smudge of the smear right here, one of the towels. Over here you got the towel and Beretta and the hammer again. Blood drops here are blood on the wall, a little bit of blood up here, and also you have the impact point from a projectile that came through.
And then State's Exhibit 45.
A little bit better shot of the holster up on the bed. Bloody footprints again. The smear, one of the towels, just a little bit better angle. You can see a little bit of motion in the blood right in through here. One of the live rounds that was found is right here.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit 46.
The holster that's up on the bed, you see blood drops that are here around it. Blood drops down here on the edge of the spread again.
And tell us about the blood drops. What sort of blood drops are on the bed?
Most of these
Spread.
look like they're still the same. You've got the blood drops here and here. Most of them are rounded. You're striking a fabric, so it could change the pattern a little bit, but most of them are more of a passive fall instead of anything that's cast and has movement to it.
So how might blood spatters like this, in your opinion, have gotten on the bedspread?
It's just dripping from something that's got blood on it. It could have been from a towel. It could have been from, I would say it'd have to be something that's absorbed a good bit of the blood, because you do have quite a few blood drops, but more than likely it's just dripping from an object.
And looking at State's Exhibit 47, I think that you had just mentioned earlier that you saw a live round on the floor.
Yes. One of the live rounds is right here.
Okay. Which gun did that live round, which gun do you associate that live round with?
The live rounds that were in the bedroom floor, both were a hollow point Hornady, and the Hornady ammunition was inside the Beretta.
And State's Exhibit 48, what are we looking at here?
This is the other round, live round that's laying up near the towel.
And is that also that's one of the rounds, a Hornady round
Hornady, yes,
associated with the Beretta?
yes. And this is the other Hornady round that was laying over on the side. This one you can see is, tell them both of them, these are the hollow point rounds versus a full metal jacket.
Okay. And for the record, this is State's 49. And can you explain to the jury, I know some of our jurors know a lot about guns, but some of them don't. Can you explain to the jury the difference between a full metal jacket and a hollow point?
Full metal jacket is just a lead core that has a full jacket around it, a copper jacket or a metal jacket. It keeps it intact. It's just basically a rounded projectile. The hollow point, you can see in this one, see how it's flattened out. It's got the little hole in the front. It's got the little cuts. The hollow points are designed to open up on impact instead of being just something that's just going to go through. It's designed to open up and be more effective as far as stopping power.
Now, looking at State's Exhibit 50, I'm going to thumb through them real quick. 51, 52, 53, and 54. What are we looking at here, and what was significant to you in this picture, in these pictures?
You're looking at the footprints and the blood that's on the floor going into the bathroom. There was not any blood that we were able to detect on the toilet or on the handle, but on the floor around it, and in front of the vanity or the sink, you had the bloody footprints.
And based on what you learned in your investigation, why were those bloody footprints in that bathroom of significance to you as a crime scene investigator?
The towels could have come from in there, but it also, when we went back and found the shell casings and rounds inside the septic system, it would indicate to me that that's where the rounds are flushed down the toilet.
And State's Exhibit 55.
What you got is the photograph of the door. You can see the damage to the side of the door right here where the projectile came through. Projectile came through at the door, it struck the corner of the wall, and you can see where it went in, exited, and then you've got a little bit of blood that's on the wall. Smear consistent with a handprint.
And then State's Exhibit 56.
You can see a little bit better photograph of the door. The door handle is here. Exit is here. You've got damage from the hammer, and again, the wall where you have the entrance and the exit, blood spatter on the wall, and bloody handprint.
And just backing up 1 minute now, you said you can see the doorknob, and then you said you can see the exit. Can you explain to the jury what you mean by the exit?
I'm sorry, the defect? Okay, sorry. The entrance again, exit, the defect on the door, you can see this is where the edge of the door got pushed out from where the projectile came through. The impact up here from the hammer.
So are we looking at the inside of the door as if you were standing inside the bedroom and looking out?
Out, yes.
Okay,
This is the back side of the door.
okay. And then State's Exhibit 57, what are you measuring here?
Measuring the height from the floor to where the, again, the impact from the projectile, impact from the hammer. And even in this, you can see a little bit of blood that's on the door as well. But you can see the damage to the door handle. And you can see where it's framed in with the little offset wall that goes into the bathroom.
Okay, and what room are you standing in when you're taking that picture? Or when that picture's being taken?
It's in the bedroom where the victim was found.
And so I see that the door is turned open, so
That's the front side of the,
that's the front side of the door as if it had been closed.
yes.
Okay, just wanted to make sure of that. Okay. And then State's Exhibit 58.
You look again, the measurements just showing the height of the impact with the projectile, where the handle is, and again, you can see the damage to the door.
State's 59.
You're looking at the impacts again from the hammer, a little bit of the blood, but you're looking at the entrance from the projectile.
And State's Exhibit 59.
Just the edge of the door where you can see where the damage was, where the projectile popped a little bit of the door out.
Oh, this is State's Exhibit 60.
But again, it's just the impact right here. You can see the impact of the wall where it came through the door and then impacted the wall. The damage right here, the little paint transfers where the door was shifted out with the projectile when it went through.
And State's Exhibit 61.
Got the door closed again, but you can see, again, the side damage where the projectile came through. And a close-up of the damage.
Okay, and that's in State's Exhibit 62. Or were you going to say something?
I was just going to say, you can still see the impact to the edge of the wall and then the door, edge of the door.
And State's Exhibit 63.
The measurements showing where the impact to the wall, where this is the projectile where it came through the door, and it traveled over, struck the edge of the wall to the corner of the wall and came through.
And so what was your measurement there of the impact to the wall?
That was right at 48 inches.
Okay, and going back to State's Exhibit 63, what measurement did you get as far as the projectile?
This right there at about 46 and a half.
Any sort of an angle of the projectile as it traveled through the door and into the wall?
The projectile came in at an angle of about 64 degrees with an upward trajectory of about 5-7 degrees. Just a slight upward angle with an impact or an angle coming in and sideways to the wall.
Okay, and then State's Exhibit 65.
It's a
What-
photograph showing a trajectory rod where it goes through the path of the projectile where it came through the door, struck the edge of the wall, and traveled through.
And State's Exhibit 66.
Close up where you can see a little bit better detail. You can see where it came through right at the edge of the door, and then came up, struck the wall, exited out.
State's Exhibit 67.
And this is looking back at the path that it would have taken through the edge of the wall.
State's Exhibit 68.
The opening door is slightly ajar in this one, but you can see where the impact would have hit. This is just showing the defect or the transfer, paint transfer on the edge of the door. And again, a different angle, but showing the trajectory where it came through the door, through the corner of the wall.
Okay, and that's State's 69. Now, State's Exhibit 70.
It's a close-up shot showing the transfer from the paint and the defect. You can see where the door's not completely intact anymore. Now it's damaged, it's not completely together, but this is the transfer from where it was pushed over and struck the edge of the door frame.
Okay. Now, in addition to the defects you saw from the gun that was fired at the door and into the room, did you see any defects going in any other direction?
Yes, on the,
Okay, so I'm showing you State's Exhibit 71. What are we looking at here?
this one shows, this is the defect of that short little wall again, but you can look out here, you can see this marker where it's got one of the defects in the glass. This marker where it shows the defect on the edge of the wood. Another impact, and an impact on the picket, the metal picket, and on the wood banister.
So State's Exhibit 72.
Is a lighter photograph, it's easier to see, but again, you've got the damage here showing the door frame. The damage to the glass you can't see because this one is a lighter photograph, but this is an impact where it looked like a projectile was tumbling and struck the edge of the wall. And right here is the defect on the handrail, and right here is the metal picket. This got a defect on it from an impact.
And just to be clear, the defect on the wall on the inside of the room, is that associated with these other defects that you've been talking about?
This one is the one that came into
Okay.
the room. These are ones that are outside, and this is on the hallway. That's the picket, metal picket, and this is the banister that goes downstairs to the landing we looked at earlier, and this is that exterior wall.
Okay, and then State's Exhibit 73.
Close up showing the damage to the picket. You can see where it was struck right here.
And State's Exhibit 74.
That's the back side of the picket. This is where the metal peeled and came in this direction. If you're looking at it, that one is actually where the metal peels out and comes in. It faces down the hallway on the upstairs.
And then State's Exhibit 75.
That's the impact point to the handrail of the
And State's Exhibit 76.
Now you're looking at the impact here. That spot on the wall is where it impacted a projectile that was tumbling, impacted there. This is the impact that was through and through, that went through the interior pane and the exterior pane. This is the broken glass on the interior pane of glass where it didn't penetrate and go through the outside pane.
Okay. Do you know any idea where that one went?
The one that went completely through?
No, the one on that didn't penetrate.
No. The one that impacted the wall and the one that went and busted the interior pane, there were fragments found, but not really any large sections of the lead cores that were found.
Now, do you have any opinion about whether these, the defects to the metal railing, the wood railing, and then these impacts on the door and the glass, how many projectiles they came from?
I'm thinking probably 3. You've got one round that completely goes through. Okay, it goes through the glass and out somewhere in the house. The impact that you have here, and I think you have some closer shots of it, but you can actually see.
Okay, this is State's Exhibit 72 for the record. It's 77, thank you guys, my glasses are uneven ones. 77.
This is the one that's through and through, the interior glass and the exterior glass. The one that hit here could be a fragment of one of the projectiles. This one hits with a good bit of force. It hits the wood right there and leaves a nice indention. And the indention is to the point where you can actually see the crimping on the projectile. So to me, that one would have to have a little bit of weight with it.
Is there a way to zoom in on that one?
This one right here, with the crimping, line of crimping is right there where it holds the hollow point together. You see, this has got the line right here with the crimping in it. So this is a pretty heavy impact, but you can tell the projectile's tumbling. It's not coming in straight, it's going in at an angle. The metal picket, the way the picket was peeled back into the side, you've got a lot of fragments that go down the hallway, but they're very small fragments. The impact right there is pretty heavy, so I'm thinking that may be from a projectile that comes through, strikes the handrail, and then starts to tumble and hits here. So the glass that broke on the interior pane was struck by a smaller object that had enough force to break the interior glass but not penetrate and go outside. But like I said, probably, I'm not sure if 2 would have done that or 1 round would have done this and the damage to the window. You've got 1 round that goes completely through, 1 round that hits here, and the other round looks like it was fragmented down the hallway because the way the metal tears, it goes down, basically projecting the fragments down the hall and into the ceiling.
So State's Exhibit 79.
That's the through and through on the glass where it goes through both panes.
And just outside the house?
Yes.
And then State's Exhibit 80.
This is the one that hit and broke the interior, but it didn't go through the outside.
State's Exhibit 81.
Is damage to the globes, and that could have been done from any of the fragments coming through where it was fragmented.
And State's Exhibit 82.
In daylight shot, this one shows the through and through. Again, this one shows the projectile that was tumbling and struck.
And State's Exhibit 83.
That's where the original break was here. The rest of the break I did trying to get down and look inside the pane, between the panes, to see if we could find any more of the projectile. but that's the one that didn't exit completely.
And then State's Exhibit 84.
A small defect that was near the impact on the wall, just at the edge of the frame, the glass frame.
How might that impact have occurred?
It was going to be probably from one of the projectiles, the fragmenting from the projectiles.
And State's Exhibit 85.
That's the one where it struck the side. Again, you can see the crimping a little bit better in this one, but it shows that the projectile struck the wall at an angle or sideways versus straight in. So that one was tumbling at the time that it impacted.
And State's Exhibit,
That's the small defect at the edge of the pane, just the chip in the wood and the fracture in the glass.
and then State's Exhibit 87.
This is looking down from the, if you want to call it the landing at the top or the hallway into the great room downstairs. These are markers where it's showing fragments, projectile fragments here, and then you've got the fragment that's over here on top of the chair.
Is that what we're looking at here in State's Exhibit 88?
Yes. And this one, I mean, you can see the crimping again, and you can see this is the jacket from the hollow point. But that was more of the, just the copper, the metal jacket. It didn't really contain any of the lead core that would have the weight. This is more of just the copper where it would have traveled further.
So when you're talking about crimping from the hollow point, are you referring to the Hornady bolts?
Yes,
And those came out of what shell?
the Beretta. Again, photographs showing smaller fragments.
Okay, so that's State's Exhibit 89, and then in State's Exhibit 90, what are we looking
This is a section of the copper jacket. Again, another section of the copper jacket.
at? In State's Exhibit 91,
Close-up showing the jacket,
State's Exhibit 92,
showing both sections of the jacket there.
State's Exhibit 93.
Another close-up showing a portion of the jacket.
Okay, is that a different, is that different from State's Exhibit 91?
I think just the angle.
Okay. So I'm seeing two pictures, two fragments here.
Correct.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit 93.
Just different angle showing the fragment.
And then State's Exhibit 94.
This is the, if you're looking, stairwell is here, the hallway going down in front of the great room is this hallway here. This is that banister that overlooks the great room downstairs. You've got markers up on the ceiling just showing where you've got small sections of fragment that struck.
And State's Exhibit 95.
Fragments and little fragments in the wall at the far end.
So now we're looking down the hallway. What's at the end of the hall? Is that the bedroom where the shooting happened, or is
No,
that a
this
different?
is the opposite side of the house. This is the other bedroom. This is the stairwell that goes down to the landing that we've been looking at in front of the great, the large windows.
And then State's Exhibit 96.
And this one, this is that same stairway where it goes downstairs. This is the phone that was located, and you've got small sections of the fragments that are there in the floor as well.
And State's Exhibit 97.
The cell phone that was on scene. It's a better photograph later on of the same phone.
And any idea what we're looking at as far as the discoloration on?
It does have blood on it.
All right, and is that the
That's
front of the
just the
phone?
front of the phone.
Okay, that's State's Exhibit 99. State's Exhibit
This is,
100.
this one's going back and is showing another fragment that was located.
And then State's Exhibit 101.
Same fragment, another fragment that's located over here. Again, this is in the upstairs hallway overlooking the great room.
Okay, and then State's Exhibit 102.
That's the photograph that you saw just a second ago by the handrail. This is a section of, or a fragment of one of the projectiles.
And States Exhibit 103.
Okay. The impact points, locations up in the ceiling across the hallway.
And 104.
Close up of one of the impact points in the ceiling.
States Exhibit 105.
Closer shot, upstairs ceiling.
States Exhibit 106.
Different, you see the shape of the fragment in this one versus the opposite.
States Exhibit 107.
Just the locations where they're marked with the markers on the ceiling.
And then States Exhibit 109.
Upstairs ceiling again, another impact point.
And States Exhibit 110.
You have a fragment that's in the floor here, and another section up here where you've got a fragment that struck the wall.
And is this still the far side of the hallway opposite from the room where the shooting happened?
Yes.
States Exhibit 111.
Another fragment from the floor.
States Exhibit 112.
That's the one that was at the end of the hallway.
113.
Different angle, but the fragment in the hallway.
And 14.
Another section of the, this looks like it's got a little bit more of the lead core in it that we were talking about versus the copper jack.
States Exhibit 115.
That's near the guardrail, but again, it looks like it's got a little bit more of the copper lead in it instead of the copper.
States Exhibit 116.
Different angle, another one of the fragments that was upstairs.
Right. And I'm going to skip these two for a second, and I'm going to ask you about States Exhibit 119.
That's the Beretta that was in the floor, as showing the photograph of the gun with the magazine removed, and you can see the live rounds up in this one. You can see these are the hollow point rounds.
And then States Exhibit 120.
That's a photograph of the shell casing that was still in the chamber of the Beretta.
Is that unusual to find a spent shell casing in the chamber of a gun?
It's not unusual. I mean, it happens. It just indicates the gun was not, when it was fired, you have to have resistance with a semi-automatic. The recoil has to actually function the gun, but the slide has to come back and eject the round out, or the shell casing out, for a new round to be loaded in. If you don't have a lot of pressure on it, if you're not holding it tightly, forcing it out, when the slide comes back, if your hand comes back with it, you don't get a proper function of the firearm. The slide won't come completely back and eject the round, so you still have a shell casing inside the gun.
If a gun is fired properly, how is the shell casing ejected normally?
The shell casing, when you have the force against it, the slide will operate and come back. The shell casing is ejected and a new round is put in.
So looking at States Exhibit 121, what are we looking at here?
You're looking at the photograph of the Glock that was outside the doorway to the bedroom.
And what's the little object fragment or thing that's next to the gun there on the floor?
Yeah. That's part of the door.
And States Exhibit 122.
And this is the Glock again, about to be unloaded.
States Exhibit 123.
Got the magazine pulled out of the firearm at this point.
And States Exhibit 124.
That was the round that was inside the chamber. And you can see the difference in this one. Where the other one had the hollow points, you see how this one's got the full metal jacket around it. It's just a rounded top instead of having the hollow point.
And now I'm gonna skip forward to 133, and we're gonna come back and cover those in a minute. Looking at states 133, what are we looking at here?
This is the Beretta, the loaded magazine and the shell casing that was inside the chamber.
Now, did you try to get any fingerprints off of the Beretta?
No.
And why in a situation like this would you decide to not get this?
Well, there was no real question about who was handling firearms, whether it was what time of the day, earlier in the day or then. Plus, you've got a lot of blood on the guns. The blood's going to get rid of any fingerprints that are there. I mean, it's going to cover over anything. To get a decent fingerprint, the texture on here, the textured up here, those areas you're not going to be able to get a fingerprint because they're going to break up the rich detail in the fingerprint. So the smoother surfaces on the gun right in here, you might have been able to get fingerprints off of, but the majority of it had blood on it. And so we didn't process.
And then States Exhibit 134.
So a photograph just showing the serial numbers, and it shows the safety was off when the gun was recovered.
And States Exhibit 135.
The serial numbers on the firearm, along with the, see the end of the barrel, and this is the portion of the slide.
And States Exhibit 136.
It just shows that there's blood around the magazine well, or the magazine of the Beretta.
States Exhibit 137.
This is a photograph of the Glock. Once it was boxed, you've got the live rounds that were taken out of the magazine and the one live round that came from the chamber.
And States Exhibit 138.
Shows the capacity on the magazine is a 10-round magazine.
And then States Exhibit 139.
Those are the live rounds that were found in the floor in the upstairs bedroom. Again, you can see a better picture of it. You can see how these are the hollow points. And the crimping I was talking about earlier, you can see where it's crimped, has a little pattern in it to keep the jacket on the core.
And Judge, this might be a good time to take a break to get some of the physical evidence from downstairs.
Y'all come on up. All right, we'll take a 15-minute break. Thank you. Thank you. Defense, it's not that big a deal. I assume that those firearms on the ground are some sort of demonstrative evidence.
Correct. They've already checked.
I understand. Can we put them somewhere other than just sitting there? Thank you. All right, see you in 15 minutes.
If we get the
They
If you want to put them in that box,
In the box.
I'm fine with that. It's
Just in?
like, not just sitting on the floor.
They had asked me to keep it out because they didn't want me to.
I'll leave it between y'all.
Okay.
No, you're good. Don't worry.
I just don't like stuff sitting on the floor.
I got you.
Thank you.
I'm going in here with it.
That's fine, I'll get it from you tonight.
All right, welcome back. Let's go ahead and bring the jury back. Thank you. All right, welcome back. Thank you so much. Y'all can be seated. Thank you. All right, we'll be continuing with direct examination.
Thank you, Judge. So if we could look back at the screen, we had State's Exhibit 139 up, which is the 2 live rounds from the upstairs bedroom. Is that correct?
Yes.
And now I'm handing you what I've got marked as State's Exhibit 183. Do you recognize this?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
This is going to be the 2 live rounds from the upstairs bedroom.
And was this collected by you?
Yes.
Judge, the State Tenders Exhibit 183 is evidence.
No further objection to 183.
Admitted.
And can you open the box and show the jury?
The 2
Judge,
rounds.
can I publish?
Yes.
So now moving forward to State's Exhibit 140, what are we looking at here?
You're looking at photographs of the shell casings and the live round that were located in the septic line at the residence.
And State's Exhibit 141.
Again, it's a little bit better focus, but you can see the 2 different type rounds, or the shell casings, and then the live round, the Hornady round, a Hornady shell casing, and a JAG shell casing.
Can you step down and point out for the jury which items are shell casings and which items are live rounds?
The live round is right here. You can see it's not got a primer strike or a firing pin strike on the primer. And again, it says Hornady on it, Hornady round, primer strike with the firing pin, a JAG round, and the primer strike. Again, these are the shell casings, live round.
And so just to make sure, just for the people that aren't super clear about guns, what's the difference between the live round and the shell casing?
Live round is intact, it will fire. The shell casing, this has already been fired. The projectile is out of it, the gunpowder is out of it. It's just what's left after the trigger's pulled and the projectile is sent out the barrel.
And now State's Exhibit 142.
Lawyer's approach, please. Thank you. All right, thank you so much.
So looking at State's Exhibit 142, where did y'all find that?
This is the live round that came from the upstairs. It's the septic line that comes out of the toilet and comes through. This is above the kitchen area. It's located in that drain that was there. So this one came from upstairs where the other ones came from the septic line out of the basement, or near, in the basement.
And can we flip to? Thank you. All right, so looking at State's Exhibit 27, which has been previously admitted, what is that a picture of?
This is the septic, or the line that comes from the upstairs bathroom. And you can see this is where it's being cut open so we could get inside to it. This is the live round that was in the pipe that was still upstairs in the, out of the bathroom from the.
And why is the location of this live round in this pipe significant to you?
The pipe, or the live round in this pipe, is right outside the, where the bedroom was, where the incident occurred. You've got the bathroom that we were looking at where the bloody footprints and everything were. This is the line that directly fed to that toilet. This is coming out of that bathroom above the kitchen before it drops down into the rest of the system.
So could that item have been flushed in the toilet downstairs and arrived in that pipe?
No, that's upstairs. It would have to be upstairs.
Now I'm gonna flip back to 143. All right, I think you said these are.
These
were-
are the photographs from the septic line from going out of the residence. This was the live round that was down there. This is the Hornady spent round or shell casing, and this is the Jag shell casing or spent round.
So when you say they were found from the line going outside of the residence, is that a different location than State's Exhibit 27 that we were looking at earlier?
These were found at the basement level coming out versus the upstairs, the first, or the one we just looked at that was inside the pipe. That was upstairs coming out of the bathroom from that same bedroom where the incident occurred, just before it dropped down into the rest of the septic system.
And then State's Exhibit 144.
That is the photograph of the live round. That one's in focus. The spent shell casings are out of focus, but you can see that one's the Hornady spent shell casing, and the one that we just looked at was the live round. This is the Jag spent shell casing. That was the full metal jacket.
Okay, and just for the record, we just flipped from 145 to 146. And then State's Exhibit 147.
That's the live round that came out of the system above the kitchen, right out of the upstairs bathroom.
So that's the round that came out of the pipe that we saw earlier.
Yes.
And then State's Exhibit 148.
Just a photograph showing the Hornady on it. That is the full or the Hollow point instead of full metal jacket.
Okay, and now I'm going to go back to State's Exhibit 129.
Okay, that's a photograph showing the clothing from the defendant that was left there at the scene.
And 130,
The jacket or the clothing from the defendant again.
131,
Clothing from the defendant, just a different angle of the jacket or hoodie.
and 132.
The bottom of the shoes that were located outside the bedroom upstairs.
Did you locate any blood on the bottom of their shoes?
I didn't observe any on the bottom. There was a couple of drops on the top of them, but nothing on the bottom.
And I'm going to tender State's Exhibit, before I ask you about it, if you want to, let me show you State's Exhibit 184. And I'm going to ask you to put your gloves on for this one.
These are the clothes from that you just saw in the photograph.
And Judge, the State tenders Exhibit 184.
Did you say where he got them from?
Oh, where did you get them from?
These were there at the residence.
And are your initials on that bag?
Yes, they were.
Okay. No further objection.
Maybe publish under the jury.
I'm sorry, what number are we at?
184, Judge.
184 is in, and you may publish.
Can everyone see those all right? Okay, thank you. All right, and can you hold up that first sleeve and tell us if you see anything on that sleeve?
The stain on the sleeve consistent with the blood.
Is everyone here all right, or do I need to? I'm
sorry.
Can you hear me? All right. You want to go ahead and put that back in the bag? Thank you. All right, now we're going to go to the photograph, which is State's Exhibit 125. What is this a picture of?
That's the black nylon holster that was on top of the bed.
And then 126.
Close-up shot that just gives a little bit more detail of the holster.
And 127.
Backside of the holster,
And 128.
strap of the holster.
And I'm showing you what's marked State's Exhibit 185. Can you tell me if you recognize this item?
Yes, ma'am.
And
It's the Uncle Mike's nylon holster that was on the bed.
the same one that we're looking at in the picture.
Yes.
And where did you recover that?
It was on top of the bed in the bedroom where the incident occurred.
And when you recovered it, what did you do with it?
It was packaged and eventually processed. Blood samples were taken from it, or collected from it. It was processed with a blood agent.
As far as chain of custody, did you take that, did you seal that up, or are your initials on that?
Yes, they are.
Judge, the state tenders Exhibit 185.
No objection to 185.
Admitted.
Now we're going to skip to Exhibit 149. Now, regarding the holster, did you perform any tests on it at a later time after you took it into evidence?
There were presumptive tests that we did on it, yes, for blood. And then later on, we did a treatment where we sprayed it with a blood reagent called Blue Star. You can see small areas on the holster when we were looking at it that appeared to be blood. But with the Blue Star, you're able to see the blood on the darker surfaces.
Okay, before we talk about the Blue Star, let me ask you, you said you took some swabs?
Yes.
And tell us what the purpose of taking the swabs, what was the purpose for that?
The swabs are just taken to show the blood on it to confirm whether it is blood, or also to have typing done on it if we need to have that done.
Okay. And how do you take the swab and what do you do with it?
It's a sterile swab. You collect it using distilled water to dampen the swab. If you've got what you think is the blood sample, you're going to swab that area down, get your blood sample on the swab, and then you're going to seal it and send it in for testing.
Okay. And so I'm going to show you what I've got marked States Exhibit 196. Do you recognize this?
Yes.
And are your initials on that?
Yes, they are.
And is this a swab that you took?
Yes.
And Judge's State Tenders Exhibit 196.
Just a second, Judge.
That's 196.
No further objection to 196.
196, admitted.
And can you open the box and just show the jury what the swab looks like?
You got the swabs that are protected with a little plastic cap. Once you take your sample, you just push that into place and lock it in to help preserve it.
And now, after you took the swab, then what did you do with it?
They were turned into property and evidence in case we needed to have them tested.
Okay, and did you send them to the crime lab for testing?
I believe we did send them in. Close that.
And since we're talking about swabs, I'm going to show you what I've got marked as States Exhibit 197. Do you recognize that?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is that?
This is a swab that was taken from the inside the Beretta magazine. Well, where the magazine fits up into it, it was a swab that was taken from there.
Okay, so from inside it?
Yes.
Inside the gun? Okay, and so what did you do with that item?
It was also turned over for testing.
Okay, when you took the swab, what did you do with the swab?
The same thing. It was preserved, turned over to property and evidence, and then later sent to GBI.
So when you say preserved, do you mean that you put it in the box and that you sealed it?
Sealed it and put it in the box, and yes.
Okay. Judge, the State Tenders Exhibit 197.
No further objection to 197.
Admitted.
Now I want to ask you some more about the holster. So flipping back to 149, and then going to State's Exhibit 150, what are we looking at here?
What you're looking at is the photograph before and after it was treated with Blue Star, before it was sprayed with the blood reagent.
Okay, so 149 is
That's
before?
just before it was sprayed, and this is it after it was sprayed.
So how does the Blue Star work?
What you're going to do is you're going to turn off the lights. The Blue Star or the chemical reagent is going to react with the blood that's on the object that you're trying to look at. In this case, it's the holster. Where you've got the blue lighting up, that's where you're going to have the blood that you can't really see. It's hard to see because it's on the dark surface or because it's gotten into the fabric. So once you treat it with the Blue Star reacts with the blood and you get the chemical luminescence where you get the blue reaction. So what you're looking at where the blue areas are, that's the blood.
Okay. And then State's Exhibit 151.
That's going to be the backside of the holster before it was sprayed and then after it was sprayed.
Okay, so 152 is after. And so what does that indicate to you?
Where the blue is reacting or where you see the blue on the holster, you're going to have the blood.
And so what is that we're seeing that's kind of not on the holster, like to the sides of the holster?
That's a little bit of the runoff from the chemistry. When you're spraying it down, you're spraying it in the dark, so you're putting the chemical on there. And that's a little bit of the overspray where you have it running off of the item that you're examining.
And so looking at State's Exhibit 153 and then comparing it with State's Exhibit 154, what are we seeing here in this photo?
You're looking where it's moved a little bit, where it wouldn't be inside or wouldn't have the runoff next to it. You're looking at the same area, the blood reaction.
And what can you tell us in regard to the snap area?
The snap area did have the blood on the, if you go back to the one before this, maybe two. The snap, the little buckle area right through here, you can see that's the outside of it where it's going to have blood on the outside of the snap.
And can you, you have 185, the holster up there?
Yes.
Okay, can you take that out of the case, please? And show the jury, if you could come a little closer to the jury and show them how it, show them how it snaps.
Just a nylon holster. You're going to have the belt area where it attaches into the belt if you carry it on a belt. The weapon is going to fit down inside the holster, and the safety snap on it is just going to come in and snap into place. If I can get the glove out. But when it's in place like this, keeps the gun in place, and then to pop it, just unstrap it and pull the gun out.
All right, and so then looking at picture, let's see, 152, what's the significance of there being blood on the inside of the snap?
You've got just where you've reached in and where you have to pop the snap on it, you've got blood on the inside as well.
And so now we're going to, I'm going to go to 157. So we're going to change gears here for a second. Show us what we're looking at in State's Exhibit 157.
It's a overall photograph showing the doorway that goes into the bedroom. What you've got is a trajectory rod. This is the impact point that we looked at earlier that's on the metal picket itself. This is the impact point that's on the handrail coming down the stairs. The trajectory rod is lined up there to show both of those are almost on the same level or pretty close to the same level. And it just shows the height coming out of the master bedroom area where the projectiles would have been traveling from.
So when you have that one rod coming through like that, are you trying to say that's from one projectile, or could it be from more than one projectile?
It could be from more than one. I'm not saying that that's exactly the same one. It just shows the level is similar coming out of the room. This is the one where, remember, you've got the metal where it peels off and actually looks like it goes, points in the direction down the hallway. And then this is the one that impacted, and you can see a little bit of the twist in the impact point on the handrail.
And then looking at State's Exhibit 158, what does that,
This is when we're looking at the door.
okay, let me see, let me go back then to, okay. Looking at State's Exhibit 156 in connection with 157, what are we looking at here in 156?
You're looking at the same dowel rod through the impact or at the impact points. Again, it shows they are in a general line, but you've got the levels are similar when it comes through the door. One is down on the handrail just a little bit below, but the other one impacts up here. So it just shows the impact points are on the same general level or path.
Based on your observations at the scene, do you have an opinion about where the Beretta was positioned when it was fired?
It would have had to have been low to the floor, something along that height in order to get the impacts there. If you say that that was made by the same projectile, the same round, then you can see how close it is, how level it is. If this one was made by one round and this was made by a separate round, it just shows that they are coming across the same general height. You've only got one impact point with each if you're looking at them as individual rounds.
So at least one round was as low as you're showing there in that round, or in that photo with that rod.
One impact hit, I think it was 14 inches or so off the ground. Hit the metal picket at approximately 14 inches. And if you continue along that path, this is in the same general height coming out of the bedroom.
So are you estimating that the Beretta was about 14 inches off the ground when it was fired, or something else?
It would be, I would say, roughly 14 inches off.
Did you prepare a diagram about the path of the projectiles going from the upstairs bedroom outward?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm going to go to State's Exhibit 180. I'm going to go ahead and hand you both of these, but I'm only going to ask you about 180 right now. Do you recognize what you're looking at in State's Exhibit 180?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It's the diagram that I made for the report.
And Judge of State tenders Exhibit 180?
No further objection to 180.
Judge,
Admitted,
can we publish it, Judge?
yes.
It's in the evidence folder under diagrams. Okay. So look at the first one. There we go. Thank you. That's perfect. Can you